You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Have we already done this episode?
Probably.
How much? I saw, do you remember the show True Detective?
Yeah. The which season?
Which season? Like
the first season?
the season with
the
Woody.
one that I watched?
Yeah.
Yes.
There is so many like tidbits and reels that I see nowadays. There's Matthew McConaughey's character just spouting the most profound things.
Yes.
Makes me want to go back and watch the first season of it.
It was very uplifting.
Right? It's super uplifting. It's a really, if you haven't seen it, it just really, like, if you're looking for that really big boost and like it leaves you with all sorts of wonderful feelings.
I really hope that they get our sarcasm by now and they're not like, oh, is this because we recommend things that do that? This is not that. This is like, if you're feeling like crap and you want to swim in some like more shit and you just are like, no, I don't want some, then that's the show for you.
But I saw one of these clips online and it was him talking about death. Like death is in the sense of like, like death. Like
I feel like I have a good understanding.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Not Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay, I was like, maybe I don't have a good understanding.
But like death,
Are we talking about like the entity, the energy that comes with the sickle?
Yes. Like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, right?
Okay.
Death, right? So when death comes for you,
not Jack the Skeleton King.
No.
But death.
Yeah. So death created time.
Okay.
And I don't remember the rest of it, but essentially when you die, you're reborn, but you're reborn into the same life. Now, this is just, like I said, it's a reel of Matthew McConaughey's character on True Detective. So this isn't something we have to dive super deep into, but it got me thinking about what if we just replay this thing over and over and over again? And the whole idea of like karma and the spiritual journey of enlightenment and like re-healing, like all of this stuff that you and I are doing.
Yeah.
What if it's just the same life over and over and over again? And it's not some new version or some different
So you're not making new choices? You're doing the same choices?
It's not that you're not making new choices, but it's not that you're in any other experience. It's the same experience over and over and over again. And you get free will and you get the option to make new choices every single time, right?
You just come and do the same thing over and over. You're the same person over and over again?
Over and over again.
Okay. Where's the opt-out button?
Right? That to me seems like, fuck.
That is like...
Whew.
I feel like, I'm like, I want to check the opt-out button, the checkbox opt-out. I want to opt out of that.
Yeah.
That's not for me. That might be for people out there. And they're like, that's wonderful. I want to keep doing this over and over again. Great. I want to opt out.
Isn't there parts of this life that are just beautiful though?
Oh, absolutely.
So would you opt out of that? See, you're opting out of the bad and the good.
No, I'm just like opting out of doing the same life like over, from my understanding, I don't know, I'm kind of bummed lately, so to me that feels like no. Are there times when it's like, yes, I could do this? Or are there people like, I don't want to do the same thing over and over again?
What if because think about it, right? We've definitely spent way too long on this reel of, I can't remember his character's name. Anyways, you're dead and you go back up into the ether.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're just in the collective consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And that place is like, for lack of a better term, it's boring because there isn't the physical experience of everything that we're experiencing.
Did you just look at my drink?
No.
I brought your favorite drink.
I know.
You love it when I make
the
the sounds.
For audio.
I know, but
I'm so over that.
Are you?
That's so like 2020, Craig.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Even earlier.
I
think I've been done with stressing about audio issues with the podcast back in like 2018. That doesn't mean suddenly just like fuck up all the audio with your clinky ice and pounding on the table. I'm just saying.
Like, I don't even have my like jewelry, my crystals that feel yummy. Okay.
So you're back up into the consciousness and it's boring.
Yeah.
Because nothing's going on. You're just unconditional love and light and you're just floating around.
Sounds terrible. Yes.
And like there's a choice because you have free will up there as well, right? You have the option of staying in that beautiful place, or you can come back down here where you get some waves. You get some opportunity to ride some waves and some emotions and the experience and the sounds and the senses and the tastes.
Okay.
And everything that this experience of these human bodies provides us. However, you just get to drop back down into the same avatar.
The same avatar.
Same life.
Same avatar. Yeah, I guess it really, like, there's no way to know. Like right now,
I do it in a heartbeat.
Well, good for you. Right now, I think I probably wouldn't.
Think about the conglomeration
I don't need
of all
to.
the beautiful, joyful moments of your life.
I'm allowed to have an opinion. Right now.
I just got excited.
I know,
about,
but I felt like you were trying to change my mind. Like
Not
right
at
now,
all.
I don't want to do, like, I want more than that. I don't know. Like, I'm not invested in this conversation right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This isn't one that I want to jump into.
That's cool. I had another question for you to start the podcast
What's
off
that?
with. You had something actually before we were getting started. You're like, oh, I was going to say something, but then I'll just save it for the podcast. Right. Just a second ago.
Oh, yeah. It was riveting. I was talking about how I think it's really fun to start running on these hardwood floors without carpet, and just for fun, I'll start like kicking my feet out to make it like slippery, and just like just be like silly run, like I run playful like a kid, like just through the house just for fun. That's the level I'm at today. I'm like, we're having fun. You're like, that's what I was bringing to the table today. Yeah. So
I'm over here talking about True Detective and death.
You're gonna come back at this. I'm like, I don't know that I didn't put on those clothes today.
Yeah.
Yes. I almost wore that same shirt. I'm glad I changed it.
We were
about twinners again.
So,
in fact, I did wear it. I just took it off.
I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast yet.
What's that?
You have to definitely follow us on Instagram. But you have started Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to talk at all about what that feels like for you?
Feels cool.
That's
cool
the
now.
extent of it.
I'm a cool person. I am now with the hips.
Yeah.
I'm in the hips. I throw out my hips with the hipsters.
Throw out my hips.
It's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually really, really love it. And it's like, I did not want to do it. It wasn't even I didn't go into it with resistance. You didn't force me to do it. It was just like, that's not for me. I like to go to, like, back in Utah, I did belly dance classes for a while. I like the yoga. I do not want that. It just didn't look appealing to me. And there were so many other, like, factors too that we don't need to go into of why that didn't feel like a space for me to go into. But then we got out here and we went to the Athens Jiu-Jitsu. And something about that place was just like, I don't even know. It just felt so good. People very, very just, I don't know. I just love it. It just felt so loving and just so cool. And, you and Asher were out there. And like I told you, I decided I didn't want to be on the sidelines. I didn't want to be somebody who was just sitting there watching. Nothing wrong with that. That's just not who I was feeling anymore. I didn't want to just, just watch it.
Yeah.
I wanted to participate. And it's freaking scary and it's hard. It's really hard with, I like my bubble, like getting into that space, and I still have to do it kind of differently. Like I'm warming, I'm getting my comfort level. I'm warming up, but I love rolling around. I love, I think it's really like, it's fun that things are starting to click. It's only been a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
But I'm getting little things.
Month and a half, something like that.
And like we were learning like these other flips, and I could not only can I flip people, but I could control their body. So I wasn't like clumsy. It was like flipping, controlling them down. So I didn't like just slam them over. And it was fun. I'm feeling strong and excited, and I'm still not going to be like the crazy competitive energy that is beautiful if you can do that. That's not me. Well, I'm definitely having fun.
You never know.
Right? Well, you never know.
Jiu-Jitsu is very addictive.
I'm already like, I'm already hooked. Yeah. And suddenly I'm...
The more you get into it, and like when things really start clicking and you actually start getting submissions, and you like actually can start having like, not like competitive, but just fun, competitive roles, then suddenly it's like, I want more of that.
Oh no.
So you never know. You might end up...
Do you know what's funny? There's like, oh no, because something was happening last night is I liked the practice, the repetition. There's one person in there that we're like connecting, and we started at the same time. So it's this like we're bouncing at the same rate.
Jiu-Jitsu buddy.
Yeah, I got a jiu-jitsu buddy, and like the people in there are so good in helping you learn. But there's this one lady in there who is, she like everybody's awesome, right? She's really awesome, but she'll go harder, and I know that I can go harder with her. And I'm not going to like do anything wrong because she's got it. And so when she like amps it up with me and I get to amp it up, oh, it's fun.
Right.
So what you're saying might actually happen.
Yeah,
but I don't want to be injured though. It's not that I'm afraid of, I don't want to be injured so I can't do yoga. And sometimes like jiu-jitsu people come out with joints and limbs facing other directions that don't work.
Anything about that. I don't know what
right?
you're talking about. It's a really safe sport to participate in.
I don't mind being hurt, but I definitely don't want injuries that stop me from practicing yoga because I'm really digging that. Yeah. But I also am liking the intensity. It feels good. I leave in a good mood.
What do you like? What are you experiencing that you didn't think you were going to experience that you're kind of like surprised by?
Just being able there's a few things. Being comfortable with other people's sweat, like multiple people's sweat all over me, rolling around on a floor with multiple like puddles from multiple people. We're just like swimming in each other's.
It's a sweat fest.
It's like, it's so like, that is something that I never being in close proximity, like strangers, and being able to like just be that kind of physical rolling around with people that like, that's a really difficult one. And then like all of the, like, you're really self-conscious about sweat on your body and sweat in places and smells. And you're like, we're just going to wrap up in each other and shove heads in places that, you know, that is, it's awkward. And like the fact that I can just do that has been big. And then yesterday, my jiu-jitsu buddy sent me a jiu-jitsu video.
Oh, yeah.
And you used to always watch them. And I was just like, yeah, cool. But I had zero desire. I was watching this excited and picking up and learned how to get out of a grapevine. And I'm like, this is amazing.
You're in trouble, babe.
I know.
You're in trouble.
So all those things, I feel like a new personality is coming out that I didn't really know was in there.
They're called rash guards. They're like the long sleeve, skin tight kind of. I mean, that's a rash guard is what they're called, right? Because it protects your skin from getting rashes, right? And there's a guy in the jiu-jitsu world. You don't know about him because you're just brand new to this space, but his name's John Donaher.
You're right. I do not know about him.
And he's a teacher. He's somebody that teaches jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And he's kind of like one of the greatest jiu-jitsu teachers of all time, right? He's responsible for coaching what's often believed to be the greatest no-gi, even though he'd probably still be the same in gi, but Gordon Ryan.
Oh, I was thinking.
Do you know? Have you ever heard Gordon
No,
Ryan's
I was
name?
expecting a Gracie name. I'm like, I know Gracie.
Yeah. Anyways, John Donaher is a really, really amazing coach. And when it comes to like just the technical level of jiu-jitsu and his ability to like teach it and his understanding of it, just amazing. Anyways, the point of this is he just wears rash guards all the time. Like, it doesn't matter what he's doing. He's always in rash guard. It's just like what he wears.
That's
right?
like his attire.
Yeah.
Like I go get groceries. I'm in my rash guard.
Doesn't matter.
Is he ready to go at any time?
It's not that because he's not like out there on the streets fighting people.
I don't know if he's like, you never know. And I don't want their sweat on me.
I think what it is his brain doesn't take the capacity to like give two shits about anything else besides jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So he's always just in that frame of mind that he is not going to take any time to like buy anything else. So he just wears rash guards all the time. And it's kind of like this joke, right?
Okay.
So at some point, there's a good chance that you might just end up walking around in rash guards.
Really? Because right now I can't even imagine wearing them without like clothes over because I'm like,
imagine yourself doing jiu-jitsu.
Well, you're right, but I'm like, that is a lot of body to shove in some skin tight things that.
So in the not too distant future, we maybe become a rash guard couple.
Yeah. I'm like, honestly, I really, really like it.
I'm so glad.
Like, I think I love it.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited to go. I'm not always, but like now, like it's been an adjustment process. I didn't go once and was like suddenly, but it has like built and like I can't get over that school and how like great the owner is and how it's just, it feels
Yeah, we're really digging the new gym.
Good.
Shout out to Athens Jiu-Jitsu.
Hey, we love you.
Did you have anything? Because I have now, even though I say I have something to talk about, that doesn't mean we have to.
Okay.
I want to check in with you because we didn't before we recorded.
We didn't.
Do you have anything that you wanted to bring up or something that you were gonna kind of spark today?
Yeah, I did, but it's gone. Maybe it'll come back, but we got like it's squirreled out of this brain.
Yeah. Well, as you were talking about your jiu-jitsu experience.
Yes. Are you gonna talk about yours?
No.
Okay.
You said, did it spark?
It did, but keep going.
You said, we went to this new place, right? And you came with us the first time that we went because we had to go check it out and kind of get a feel for it and see everything.
And I almost didn't even do that.
Yeah, you almost didn't come then, but you did come and you were sitting on the sidelines watching and you had the thought run through your mind where you're like, you don't want to be the type of person that sits on the sidelines. So I wanted to explore that a little bit because you and I both have had that, like that idea that you're not participating in your life. And I don't mean you, like, you know, the idea that you sit on the sidelines and you watch life go by. You sit there and think, I wish I was the type of person that would do this thing, but I don't. I sit over here, right? I'm not the type of person that will do that. So we just watch life happen and we don't actively participate in it.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can relate to?
Yeah, I can relate to that. It's a little like I have like an additional layer, go figure, right? That there was so much wrapped around embarrassment, being a failure, and not but the shame that I bring from failing. So like if I mess this up, then I'm embarrassing my parents. If I mess this up, then, you know, I'm bringing shame to them. Everything that I did would like, I either made proud or made shame. And then for the relationships, like, and so many times I even said like, I don't want to embarrass you. It's like, that's comes with punishment and loss of love. And so I got really afraid to do things too. And like being criticized was hard. So I was like, I would either give everything and succeed or be like, I'm just not going to participate because that's a safer thing. Like I wouldn't swing in gym class for the ball. Like, I don't think, you know, there's so many things that kids do like that I just didn't participate in. And that's also just like a cap of the iceberg and so many other like cap of the iceberg, shut up, tip of the iceberg cap, whatever. It's, see, I'm getting really good at laughing at myself. But it's just like another avenue on a big layer of things why I was so afraid to participate. And then, you know, the touching. So it just, it hit. And then I was like, I got super embarrassed the first time because turns out I can't do somersaults. And I'm like, I'm an adult. Did I not learn how to do this? You know, somersaults are easy. I went into it like, of course I can do that.
Yeah.
And hurt my shoulder doing a somersault. I'm like, how did that happen? So I had like embarrassment come up, but embarrassment always equaled shame. And instead of shame happening, it was just funny. I was like embarrassed. I was like, that was a little embarrassing, but just like having that separation and having like a stronger, I don't know, connection. That's not the word I'm looking for. Just like letting others' opinions not affect and realizing that my success, failure, whatever I'm doing is not responsible for how other people look. Regardless, I'm not responsible for the appearance of anybody else. And I just got to have fun.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
Yeah.
So
what do you think you've done in your life up to this point that has given you the ability? Like, I think this jiu-jitsu thing is a really good example of the amount of time and energy and work that you've invested in your healing has now allowed you to do this.
Absolutely.
What is that time and energy and investment in your healing look like? What are some things that stand out to you that you have been able to kind of go through that then have led you to this place where you have the confidence and the ability to step into this brand new thing. And like, there's a part of, I mean, going to a jiu-jitsu class for some people might not seem like that big of a deal.
Right.
But the reality is, like, it's a big deal, I think, for jiu-jitsu is uniquely different than, like, you know, I mean, anytime you step outside of your comfort zone, it's a big deal. But like, there's an added thing with jiu-jitsu where it's like, I mean, there's I'm going to get hurt. It's the awkward uncomfortableness.
I'm going to hurt somebody else.
Like all the different layers of it that kind of make it unique. Where, do you know what I mean? It's not like just going to a yoga class. It's not just like maybe the belly dancing class that you used to go to. Like, there's something about jiu-jitsu that's just a little bit more, I think, intense. It's
so intense. Like, you are pulling people into your body and they are pulling you into theirs. And like, just the wrapping up, it's like a physical, intense entanglement that it's bringing, like, I don't even know how to, like, I don't think I've still processed everything of what it is with the mental, emotional, physical, and how many different things like come up. You're getting past shame, you're getting past comfort levels, you're like the physical aspect of being aware of what your body's doing, being aware of what their body's doing. I don't even know. I don't have enough experience, even close. Like, someday I'm going to be able to wax poetically about what it's like to jiu-jitsu, but right now I don't have all of the different levels and layers that you're talking about, but I see it, what you're saying.
What do you think you've done though? Like, before I
What
elaborate.
do I think I've done?
Yeah. Like, all that work that you've played or all the work that's taken place over the last several years.
Yeah.
What do you think are some big things that you've been able to process and heal that then has allowed you to go into this really uncomfortable space so that you're not sitting on the sidelines anymore?
I think it's a multitude of things. Like, really, this has been a lot of self-reflection and accountability and diving into, like, diving into shadow, diving into ego, diving into all of the things that held me back that I couldn't see, that I didn't want to look at, and that I didn't know how to look at, and I didn't even know existed. Just like one thing is like unlayered another, and just staying with the process. It's been like one step after the other. It's a series of itty bitty steps that have been leaps and bounds to get me to that place. And I surprised the hell out of myself there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see that coming. That was never even something that, I wasn't, boy, I hope I feel like joining today. It was just like, fine. I didn't care. I didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't something that was lacking or missing in your life.
No, at one point it was. At one point I felt like it was crucial and I needed to and I couldn't, and so I was going to connect and all these things. And then it just like even letting that go was such a thing where it didn't even matter anymore. Mm-hmm. I wanted to like join you and join Asher, and then it was just like, that just gets to be your guys' thing. That's fine. So just so many little things. A lot of trauma healing, just really, like I said, diving into me and looking at me and allowing my feelings to be valid and my experience to be my experience. I don't know, a lot.
From what I've seen on the outside of it, right? I mean, on the outside of your work, meaning like what I've seen from over here on my side of the table, kind of watching you from the outside, is the increase in your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the ability to, I mean, the jiu-jitsu thing is a really good example. It's kind of like the latest, biggest example, but you've made so many of those like little baby steps that you're talking about in regards to doing things that are uncomfortable for you. And this podcast was a big one. Like way back in the day. If you're like brand new to the podcast and you're just like barely tuning into this, because we've been, I mean, what is it? What's this year? 2023?
It is 2023.
So what is that? 7 or 8 years that the podcast has been around. And way, way, way back in the early years, like in the early days of the podcast, you would just come on every now and then as a guest.
Yeah.
And then somewhere around episode 130 or something like that, you just became the co-host of the podcast, and you've been on every episode since then. And that has been like the little baby steps with this podcast all the time, getting to the point where you're just like super comfortable to sit here and have open, vulnerable conversations. Do you know what I mean?
This is a part of that healing
Yeah.
too. Not just like, does it show up in the podcast, but having this is getting me used to and the ability to actually use my voice and to say things and to let this whole come out. So just like the podcast itself is like a therapy session in a sense. Like I've got to practice being heard over and over and over again. And that was like never safe. So this itself has been healing, and the healing shows in it.
Right. Over 300 plus episodes of active therapy. Recorded for your pleasure. Yeah, I'm just proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
It's really neat. For me, I think about the, I feel like I have sat on the sidelines of so many different things in my life, and I still do. Like there are things that I'm trying to think if I can share any of them. But it's like, boy, I don't know, actually. I don't know if I want to. I'm not feeling super vulnerable today because I'm feeling kind of closed off. So there's a part of me that doesn't want to share too much vulnerability because I am just feeling kind of closed off today. But it's odd because I realized this morning in journaling that I'm like, I'm happy. I'm feeling pretty happy right now. But then at the same time, for whatever reason, I'm feeling kind of, I don't know, not feeling very open to receiving.
Yeah.
And in turn, I'm not really open into sharing, which makes for a great podcast episode. But I can relate to like staying on the sidelines of things and not wanting to be an active participant in my life. And it's always stemmed from just like a really lack, like it's not even low, it's just a real lack of self-esteem, next to no confidence in myself, and trying to get over that dynamic of what my ego is telling me in regards to how everybody is viewing me. And that's the thing that's just like, because that's what stops me from doing whatever, right? 95% of the things is, how are people going to view me? And the lens that I have in place, like the programming is, people aren't going to view me in a positive way. I never do something, going to this jiu-jitsu place, this new gym, it's the exact same thing, where I don't, leading up to us going there, I'm not sitting there thinking, man, when we show up there, everybody's just going to really like me, and they're going to be really welcoming, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we're so excited that you're here, and we're really grateful that we've gotten to know you, and like we're so like glad that you guys moved to Tennessee. And like that's not what goes through my head.
Yeah.
What goes through my head is, everybody's going to hate me. I have to be really careful about what I say and what I do and how I act, because they're all going to be judging me. But I don't think in my head they're going to be judging me, so then I like view them as some sort of judgmental person, right? I'm like, fuck those guys, they shouldn't be judging me. That's not the thought. The thought is, they're going to be judging me, so I have to be very careful about what I do. I have to be very conscious about how I move and what I wear and how I act and what I say. And especially like in the beginning of rolling with people, because I have like all of this wealth of information and knowledge and skill when it comes to jiu-jitsu. And I wanted to be very conscious of how I kind of interacted with people on the mat. Because I've rolled with people before that are like, anytime you interact with somebody brand new, you're kind of filling each other out to see where each other is. And there's some people that kind of come on really strong with their jiu-jitsu. And I think it's in this like they're wanting to prove themselves or wanting to show you that they know what they're doing, or, or even dominate you, and not wanting to appear weak, or it's just all this bullshit. So I had all of that going through my head leading up to going to this place. And that's the narrative of my life. Like that's the narrative that shapes everything, right? It's literally the thing that shows up every time we record this podcast. Every episode, I'm sitting there thinking of the person listening out there, right? The one person driving around in their car listening to this podcast. And I'm like, man, I sure hope that they don't think I'm stupid, but I know that they do think I'm stupid. So that internal dialogue that stems from like the earliest, days of my life as a child and the programming that I was given as a child has been the constant. And then it is, how do I then battle against that ego? How again do I move forward in my life against that voice that tells me everybody's judging you, everybody thinks you're pathetic, everybody thinks you're fat, everybody thinks you're stupid, everybody hates you, nobody really likes you, none of these people are really your friends. Like all of that narrative and all of that voice has just been the consistent nonstop thing in my life. And it plays out in our relationship too, all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Like that's what stops me from living the life that I want to live and doing the things that I want to do and kind of fully embracing everything. And just like you, it's all the work that I've done in the last several years that has started to make that, the voice doesn't go away. And I don't think it's supposed to go away, but I don't allow it to control everything that I do anymore. It's just like, oh yeah, there's the ego doing its thing, right? It's the villain.
Yeah.
It's the villain in this story of mine, in this hero's journey of Craig's life. The villain is the ego. It's that voice that's telling me, you should probably just stay home. Not even stay home, but you should probably not get off the couch. So yeah.
When you find yourself pushing against that and showing up because you do that, so you've got like all of this coming up and all this like things that are keeping you held back and in the sideline and all of these fears and this narrative that's going in your head, this egoic villainous voice that is telling you all of these reasons that you shouldn't participate to keep you safe. Yet you continually show up in those spaces. You continually push against that boundary. And like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like how strong and courageous and brave you are, because I know when that voice is playing out, it's like those things almost hurt to hear. It's like, oh, stop. You're really looking at me. Go away. I'm going to, all the things. But what I'm asking with that is, what energy gets you to that point? Are you showing up against like, fuck that thought, I don't care, I'm not listening to you? Or are you like, no, Craig, are you being positive towards yourself? What gets you to that spot? What energy do you give to yourself to get you into those things where you get off the sidelines? Because you do it all the time.
That's a good question. I'd like to say that it's like this other aspect of myself that's like, you can do it, I'm so proud of you. Don't listen to that other voice that's telling you to stay small, right? You're a beautiful creature. Like, I would love to say that I have another side of me that is speaking as equally as loud and as clear as my ego is. And that's totally not the case.
Yeah.
I think it is just like at times it feels like, I think I said I didn't want to be vulnerable.
You did.
That's okay. I'm not too vulnerable. Like there's times where it's just sheer will, where it's just like straight determination that is getting me to do the thing that I don't want to do. No, wait, getting me to do the thing that I want to do, right? In opposition to that voice. And so it's pushing as hard as I can into it with just this, like at times it's sheer will, at other times, like what I mean by sheer will, I think of as like courage, right? Like it's just straight up courage that's driving me. Other times it's like the fuck you determination against that voice, where it's like I'm in opposite, like I'm battling that villain and being like, you will not fucking win this one. Like you won the last 3 days. but this battle I am going to win. Like, fuck off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other times too where it's disassociation, where I know consciously I want to do this thing,
Mm-hmm.
but in order to do it, I leave my body.
You disassociate for things you want to do?
Yeah, in order to avoid that ego narrative from stopping me. Because it's like, if I'm really present with it, then I get too afraid, and like the anxiety builds up too much inside of me. And so it's like, I just have to, like, oh, we're going to do this thing that's like really scary and really hard for me. Cool. Yep. We're going to do this thing that's really scary and really hard for me. And then I just go through the motions of doing the thing that's really scary and really hard for me. And I'm not super present or connected in it.
So the ego still has a way to stop you from participating even when you do get to participate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're not really participating.
I'm not really participating, because if I do fully connect into that space, like, I mean, just because we've been talking about it, like this is a good example of going to this gym for the first time. I don't remember it very well. I don't remember what happened. I have to like get really, like I have to think really hard. And it was only like a month and a half ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really remember who was there, because I disassociate from my body, so that all of that panic and all of that fear that I'm experiencing, because really it is just the fear and the panic that I'm experiencing. It's not necessarily that voice that I'm trying not to hear, but that's the byproduct of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I leave my body to go through this experience, and it's fully something that I want to be doing, and I'm excited to do. I'm really nervous about it. The byproduct is I don't hear that ego. I don't hear that voice telling me all of those negative things. And then I come out of the experience and I'm like, I'm so glad we did that thing. I'm so glad I did that. And then
it's still kind of hard to connect to because you weren't there.
Yeah. And the voice is still there.
The voice is still there and tells you all the ways, like it reiterates, like it'll play back things, like, right? And tells you what. So interesting. So the skills that you learned to survive in trauma responses, in trauma situations that have become your trauma reactions, responses, get applied to non-traumatic experiences, not even non-traumatic experiences that are happening, but joyous, chosen, desired things. Still, like the only way at times that you are able to fully, like not even fully, but you are able to participate in that is you bring your trauma response. That's how you get through it. That's how it plays out. So the trauma response plays out hard situations and wanted situations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can think about, there's plenty of times, now that we're talking about this, I can really resonate with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's plenty of times where we're doing something that I very much want to be doing and I'm excited to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also scared that I'm going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Or I'm scared that something I say or do or some action of mine will then fuck this thing up, fuck this experience up.
You participating is what's going to mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it keeps your disassociation. So can we bring it back to something?
Sure.
Can we bring it back to the energy that you're going into these things? Is it, when you have the sure courage and will, and you have the fuck you attitude towards that voice, and then you have the I just completely disconnect. I think the disconnect is what happens after the courage, will, or the fuck you voice. So like getting you to that, not when you're in the spot. like getting you to walk through the door,
Mm-hmm.
not what happens after you walk through the door. So we're just going to bring it back there for a little bit. So you can connect to I'm not listening to you. I don't care what they think. I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to show with all this like,
Yeah.
to get through there. You can connect to that.
Mm-hmm.
And can you drop in for a moment and recognize when that happens? Do you think you have awareness when that happens?
Yes.
The courage and will part. Because you thought on that one for a while. You're like, Sometimes just,
Yeah, that one feels different.
Can you tell me what that feels like?
I think it feels. I love when I say that, right? The separation between our head and our emotions, the brain and the belly, where it's like, I think that my body is feeling this. That courage, those moments where I am like really digging deep into whatever, right? Into myself, into the universe, into the courage that it takes to do something. I feel like that happens when it's a really big deal.
Okay.
So like there's an intellectual part of myself that's like, going to a new jiu-jitsu gym is scary, but it's not that big of a deal. You'll be all right. You've done hard things before. You can do it. It's whatever. Yeah, you'll be all right. I can trust in the experiences that I've had up until this point in my life. So I'm like, yeah, I can do that hard thing. And then when it comes to the actual act of it, I still disassociate so that I'm not feeling all of the fear in conjunction with actually being present and going through it, right? But I can kind of draw from my past experiences to be like, you can do this thing. And then when it comes to like really big, significant, important things, like moving to Tennessee, right? That was a pretty big fucking deal for us. Leading up to that decision, it feels like something completely different, because it's like, yes, I'm drawing from previous experiences and I'm using that as kind of like energy to move me forward. But it also feels like this really deep connection to something else. It feels like it comes from a source kind of outside of me, in a sense, where, gosh, what does it feel like, babe? It's like,
There you go. What does it sound like?
It doesn't really sound like anything. Like, it definitely does not sound like that voice in my head that's negative. It doesn't sound like the ego. It doesn't sound like anything. It feels like inspiration is the word that comes to mind, but I don't even know if that's necessarily accurate. It just feels empowering. It feels like it fills me up. This is so weird. It feels heavy, but not heavy. Like, it feels like it's this, and like
powerful?
Yeah. But not in a heavy way. Like, it feels like suddenly I'm filled up with inspiration, hope, energy, like just this thing that is like, oh yeah, I can do that.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Try and close your eyes again for just a moment. Are you okay?
Yeah, I got a wobbly elbow that needs to, okay, sorry. Jiu-Jitsu doesn't cause any long-lasting injuries.
Try and close your eyes for a minute. Okay. Just allow yourself, like, for a moment to push against. Just allow whatever narratives coming through and all of the things, right?
Yeah.
All of the things, the resistance for you in the space and the chatter that's going through your mind. Allow it just to kind of like float on by and drop into the blanket of strength that you feel around you when this inspiration comes through. this solid form that doesn't feel heavy, but feels supported, held strong. When you have that, I can do this. Where do you feel that?
I feel it in my belly.
And drop into that. You hear, I can do that. You
Fill it up into my chest. Yeah, it just feels like it expands from my belly and just starts kind of radiating outwards.
and feel it inside your body and connected with your body. What does that voice sound like? What are the words?
I can do that.
I can do that.
And it's just so certain.
Explain that to me.
Like there isn't anything else. There is no doubt or question. It's just, I can do that.
I can do that, period.
Very clear.
I can do that. Take a deep breath in. And just open mouth, exhale. Even then, you turned away from the mic. You were still here. Just allow your eyes to open and just kind of feel your body as you're coming back into the moment, into this space. Keeping awareness of that feeling in your chest. Staying present with your body, even though you don't want to come back. I can do that. Having your eyes open. Feeling that. Hearing that.
Yeah.
I invite you to a practice of having this moment in the forefront. And when little things come up, practicing on little things, whether it's, I'm going to go outside and get the mail, and just allowing this feeling to come up in that space for a moment. And whether you're going to go to the grocery store or the post office, just taking a moment and remembering this. And just, I can do that. Because we don't use that when it's these little things. But when we practice it in these little things that can be big to others, but little to us, then it's easier for us to pull that in. Just get curious about when you step into other situations, if maybe you get to be present in them.
I would like that.
Yeah. I can do that.
Can you?
And I would like to invite you for one more thing.
Let's hear it.
When I can do that feels far away, and there's times when the narrative, that ego is coming in, and it feels a lot of times like our bodies know when we're telling it something that it's not aligning with.
Yeah.
It's like, I can do that. I can do that. And your body is like, psh. It feels like you're lying to yourself. So I invite when that resistant comes up, if it does, to try altering it slightly and say, I want to do that. And allow that to kind of sit in so your body is feeling connected to you And it's feeling that trust with you and helping you to move. Yes, it's a practice. It's a practice. We have to find creative ways to practice. Sometimes it's not perfection and I will do it this way every time. Say, be creative. Like, this isn't working right now. Okay.
That's okay, right?
Yeah, that's really okay. Let's do this.
I want to do that.
I want to do that. Okay, that feels good. I can feel that. I can step into that energy.
Yeah. Okay. I like all of that. I'm going to cross my arms and cover up my belly again to protect myself, right?
Okay.
Come back within my comfort zone of... Thank you, sweetheart.
You're very welcome. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, the difference between... like that ego is so clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so clear what that sounds and feels like. It's just this chaotic fucking voice and mess, and it comes with like honking horns and sirens and crashes, and like it's just chaos. I can hear it so clearly and feel the anxiety of it. And then the difference between this other thing. And it's quiet. And it's so clear. I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
Do you want to just end it? Do you want to be done, or like, how are you?
Yeah, if you've got something else.
The thing that I wrote down that I was going to talk about is something that I've used with clients in the past, but only recently applied to myself, and it kind of like can see if how this feels too. A lot of times how that disassociation and then that chosen disassociation comes in forms of distraction, or not just like unintended disassociation, but fully intended conscious choice. I am not I'm disassociating. I'm going to check out intentionally, because it's both. It's like I haven't been present and I didn't realize, or I choose to not be present right now. And the ways that that can be when we start to come out of it, or even want to come out of it, how that creates a shame loop sometimes of like all of the stuff, all that you haven't done, all the ways you haven't been present. And so you like start to beat yourself up for trying to come out of that, or when you're out of that, which kind of pulls you back in. So even the intentional can be, turn into unintentional, pulling you back into that loop. Or when you do break out of it, a lot of times it's just that complete, I'm not even going to look at that. It doesn't exist. I'm out of it and I won't look at that. Still kind of filling around with shame. And I had a different perspective that I would share. And a lot of times the word like I was broken comes up. Like I was broken. And when we go into those disassociated parts, when we go into those massive distractions and we choose ways to not be present in the extremes that we're feeling, if we were able to reframe the way that we looked at it, we might have the possibility to not get stuck in it as long, or even allow it to do what it's designed to do, which is healing. So when we go into those and we're coming out, we needed essentially that break. We might not need that break in the future, or we needed that pause for the break to allow our bodies to heal. I said, think of it like a bone. When a bone breaks, you put it in a cast, you immobilize it so that it can heal. It can take its time. And it's not like, how dare you sit in that cast for this amount of time? How dare you, heal? You don't like rip it off and go practice whatever you're doing, unless you're a jiu-jitsu person, then you probably do. So try not to. But you allow it that time to heal. And then you allow it to build its strength back up. Because when the cast comes off, it's not the strength that it was. It's smaller. It's lost, it's lost its strength. It's lost its luster. It's lost even like the color is different. So many different things like take place when you remove that cast, because it was immobilized, light was out. It just went into this like dark place that allowed it the pause that it needed to heal. So when you find yourself coming out of those and being like, whoo, I got to get this cast off, or yeah, I was in a cast for this a lot of time, and I come out and I'm ready to go. It's not something to be shameful of and punish yourself for and put yourself back in another cast. It's like whew, that served its purpose. I got to heal and recover and recuperate during that time. You're smiling. I'm feeling awkward now. I'm like, whoa.
I'm smiling because I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just really listening to you.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. That's good. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's a really good perspective shift. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Well, should we move on to the end of the episode, the last segment of the episode?
What's the last segment?
Compared to the first segment.
Oh, yes. The question.
Question of the week. Bum, ba-da-bum.
Do you have it?
I do.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think you told me and I forgot. So cool.
That's
Maybe
all right.
you didn't.
So the question this week is, how do you support your partner when they're actively traumatized? When they're actively going through a triggered moment that stems from past traumas? How do you support them, and what are some of the best ways to support them? That's the question.
Okay.
So the idea is your partner is
In a triggered state.
triggered. They have, let's just summarize it as PTSD, and they are triggered and activated in that moment by something. So whatever is taking place, it now is got them stuck back into that triggered or into that experience from their past that was the original trauma.
And they're in a loop.
Right? So how do you support them?
The first thing that's come into my mind is short and direct and calm. Like if you like recognize that they're in a trigger and you start trying to explain that or explain actions and really get into that, like I'm going to really use a whole long-winded moment to help you, and that you're not, it's just going to activate. They can't connect to that because there are certain functions that are completely offline. So first of all, are they looking for support? Do they want support? Are they coming to you in that moment, or are they trying to gain some space?
That's a good designation, right?
Yeah.
Do they want support in that moment?
Is if they want a little bit of space, allow them that space to regulate. Allow them that self-regulation and time to breathe, even if they're not doing it the way that you think they should be doing it. If they're taking a moment to themselves, let them have that moment instead of coming in with all the things that, as well intended as they are, like I want to help. I come in with like, I'll take care of this for you and let me help you and let me love you and you just need it, all these things. And like, that is not what the other person needs in that moment. And even if it's something that they want after, or it would help them in the moment, if they cannot accept that from they're being so dysregulated, it's not going to help them. It's going to hurt them and even make them feel more wrong and push them into a deeper trigger space.
So loving non-judgmental space.
Yeah, loving non-judgmental space. And if they're coming to you for things, or maybe, how would that look differently? I'm trying to think. Because I have the verbiage that we have, like I need some support right now, but you might not have that, right? When they're coming through that. So if they are maybe coming towards you with something, like things need to be fixed, things like they're bringing the list of things that are wrong in the environment, not necessarily wrong with you, but like wrong with the space. This needs to be taken care of. They're very like aggravated, and all of like the controlling is coming out. They want to control the experience from a trigger. So they're engaging because they want things fixed. They want things to go a certain way. How could you show up in that space?
I think it's important too. It's like you said, right? It's the loving compassion first and foremost, right? Recognizing that they're in an activated state. So like you said, there's a bunch of things that just aren't simply online, right? Like your brain, you're not thinking
right?
super clear.
Literally, you're
right?
straight.
And so if they're coming to you wanting help, even if it's in this kind of chaotic moment, in this chaotic space, I think it's very much just like reassurance that they're safe, reassurance that everything is okay, like everything that you're experiencing is all right. You're okay to be experiencing this. We'll figure this out. what you're feeling right now is all right. And then like the soft reminders that you are in this environment, not whatever other environment they might be in. Because I think about you and me, this happens not a ton per se, but it's something that we've got a lot of experience with. I think you and I both will get triggered quite frequently, and then trying to love and support the other person, right? And that's what I try to do oftentimes. Is it's just like, I used to fix everything, or try to fix everything. I didn't fix anything, right? I used to try to fix everything, and now I'm just really patient, and I'm just listening,
Right.
and I'm not like, it's the simplest thing of like what would you do with a like a scared dog or something like that, right? Like, you're not making big movements. I'm not making loud sounds.
Yeah, like facts.
Right?
Right.
I'm just moving very slowly. My voice is very calm and regulated. I'm not getting caught up in whatever it is that you're activated in. I'm just like, okay, everything's fine. Not to the point where it's like, sometimes I think you can get too far into that, and then it becomes more of an aggravation and more of a thing, right? Sometimes I'm like, just relax. Never say that. Never say just relax.
Relax or calm down.
But I think the more you can just remain calm yourself, realize that they are suddenly having an activated response, and then your responsibility, and responsibility isn't the right word, but your, like, the opportunity for you as their partner is to just love them compassionately through this experience. There isn't anything to fix. There isn't anything for you to do. It's to listen. It's to move slowly. It's to do everything that you can to continually create a safe environment for that person to go through that process. And then, like, as they come out of the process, as they come out of the trigger, as they start to come back into reality here emotionally, then the invitation is like, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about what came up? Would you like to talk about what just happened? And just create that environment where they can then process some of that with you. Again, just from a very loving, compassionate place, not having to, fix or do anything.
It is not. There's no judgment or responsibility there.
Right.
I think like the biggest thing, like if you're like trying to remember all of these things, okay, are they coming at me? Are they needing space? All the stuff that you're trying to remember. I think if you can remember one thing, it will make a huge difference, is that it's not personal. Like, it's not about you. Their trigger is not about you. Even if there's like history there and you did something to recreate that trigger. So in a sense, you trigger the fuck out of them and they are responding in that. Like, you don't, like, if you, as soon as you make it a personal thing that you did, you are going into a triggered space and you are going to meet them in this chaos, and it's going to turn into, so their feelings are, regardless how they're there, are theirs. They get to experience it. It's not about you. And later, the conversation can be brought to you in a way that you guys however many people are involved, are able to communicate that together. So it's not personal. Even if it's personal, it's not personal. It's not about you. Yeah. It's not about you. They're having an experience.
Yeah. And like, I think that's an important thing to remember. And I would add, also remember that they're not fully there. Like that whole thing of like, they don't have the full capacity of everything. They don't have their full mental capacity. They don't have their full emotional capacity. They don't have the full ability to speak and communicate clearly. Like, the idea is they are triggered and activated in a fight or flight or freeze or fawn response. They're not going to have all of their capacities available. They're not operating at 100%.
Might not be operating at 10% at times.
Like,
right?
You as their partner supporting them might be operating in the high 90s. And
you're bringing rational to it.
Right. You've got all the clarity.
Yeah.
But they don't. So you just have to have that passion, the compassion and the understanding and the love to go through that in a really supportive way.
Yeah.
And the more you can communicate about this type of support outside of triggered moments, the easier it is when you are triggered. So we have an experience. We just went through this. maybe the next day or the day after that, hey, let's talk a little bit about what we can do better next time this happens.
Yes.
When they do have all of their capacities, where they do have the ability to think rationally and feel and communicate clearly. And they're like, okay, yeah, that was really hard for me. This is, what you did this time really helped. I liked that. Don't do that. That one thing you tried, that didn't work. That was not helpful at all. Right? Don't offer me a blanket.
Don't tell me, snap out of it. I'm like,
Having those type of conversations after the fact are really beneficial, because it's going to happen again. And I think the reality too is everybody has trauma, and everybody can get triggered and caught up in that trauma at some point, and something can re-trigger it, even in a subconscious way that you might not have full awareness of. So it's a really good skill set to kind of cultivate in a relationship. And then especially those relationships that have, like Stephanie and I both have a lot of trauma that we're healing and we're aware of it. So this is like a very important skill set to have. So having these conversations with your partner and in your relationship on a regular basis is going to massively improve those moments, because the triggered moment, the activation, the thing that, like, how do you support your partner in this moment can create a lot of wounds and a lot more shit for you to deal with. If it's kind of not handled in a delicate way. And then you're just creating more pain to process and deal. So,
and then it becomes unsafe, you think, as like for the partner. Like every time I experience something, it causes more chaos. So when you're reacting to somebody's being in a trigger space, it's simply because you are being triggered. So that self-regulation there of being like, there are times, Craig, and maybe this will apply to, like, this is a practice that can be used, but I'm being triggered by your triggeredness, right? You're in a trigger. And it used to, like, I'm thinking I did something wrong. I need to fix it. I'm not loved anymore. I turn it into your trigger to about me, and feeling like this contention that's going on, whether it's like, again, that's like the consciousness of going through it. Being really, really afraid, especially if you have a physical trauma background, then somebody being just upset can mean a lot of very, very scary things. So if I find myself joining you in your trigger, there's so many times that I start actively communicating with myself. So I'm listening to you. So you can just be going off. Sometimes you start to even go off about me, right? You start to, like, really the things that are about me that are driving you crazy. Even when that starts to happen, I'm thinking of one specific moment where it was the first time I applied this, and it was really helpful. So now it's a go-to. I start talking to myself and saying, it's okay. You're safe. It's not about you. He's expressing his feelings. It's okay. You are safe. It's not about you. He's expressing his feelings. And I have that caveat of knowing that you're not physical with me. So I get to say that I am safe. And sometimes it'll be like, I am loved. I am supported. This is not about you. And you think, well, if I'm doing that, then I'm not actively listening. But that's not the truth. When you find yourself getting triggered, the voices that are going, the story that is in your head is, I messed up. Like, I'm wrong here. This is going to turn to this. You start, like, seeing all the ways it's going to spiral out. So when you're creating all of these things, your attention is going there and you're not actively listening. So when I'm calming myself, reassuring myself, this is not about me. You're expressing your feelings. You're expressing a hurt. It's keeping my nervous system regulated so I can still hear you, and I can active listen better by keeping myself in that place. So maybe give that, like, if you're able to regulate your nervous system, stop yourself from being triggered as best as you can. Allow them the space to be triggered. Then, like, I just got nervous.
That's good.
I got nervous.
It's really
that's
good.
That's a technique that has been working for us.
You're awesome. You're a badass, babe.
Let us know how that feels.
Yeah. And you can submit questions if you want them answered on the podcast. Email them to info@energyislove.love, or you can just send them to us directly on social media. You can message us at any time, and we'll answer your questions. And if you want us to shout out your name, this question comes from so-and-so, make sure and let us know. Otherwise, they'll just kind of be these anonymous questions that we answer on the podcast.
So you can ask anything.
Exactly. Anything is...
Doesn't mean we'll answer anything,
on
but
the
you can
table.
ask anything.
We'll answer almost anything.
See?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go to our website, sign up for our newsletter. Let's see, we got the online community coming in March. We're excited for that. We've got couples coaching that is open. Also, if you're an individual and you want some coaching
is open.
It's kind of a cool thing that we do when we work with an individual person is you have the option to work with both of us so that you get, it's kind of like 2 for the price of 1, where you get the chance to work with both of us. If you're just an individual person and you're wanting some coaching, it's awesome because you get the perspective of both of us and kind of both sides of the coin that we bring to the table. So
you get a team.
Reach out, send us messages. What else? Anything else before we wrap up?
No, that's it for right now. There's more stuff in the bank, so
it's coming. It's a big year, 2023. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.